So, in order to finally complete my run through of, I guess, the main classic series of Mega Man games, I was at first content with just playing all the numbered ones, but I figured, I've never actually played Mega Man in base. I've heard a lot about it. Why not? Let me try it out. So, playing Mega Man in base is an interesting experience. And in fact, it's actually going to cause me to shit talk the Legacy Collection 2 even more. I spent like 15 minutes last time, but I have more complaints with it. So, Mega Man in base was essentially developed as a... basically like a gimme, or not a gimme, but like a little parting gift for Super Nintendo kids. It's a very, very late Super Nintendo game. It came out in 1998. That is well after the N64 came out. And it only really exists because for the longest time, Mega Man was a Nintendo franchise, like Nintendo console. If you owned an NES or a Super Nintendo, you were pretty confident that you were going to get Mega Man games. You might buy the console just for Mega Man because it was so reliable. Mega Man's 1 through 7, the 7 games, all came out on the NES. On NES console. 7 was Super Nintendo. Mega Man X 1 through 3 all came out on the Super Nintendo. That's four Mega Man games total on the SNES at that point. And then they just jumped right into PlayStation. Starting from X4, it was a PlayStation. The X series became a PlayStation 1, and Mega Man 8 came out on the PS1 as well. And so I think they were worried about people feeling a little bit betrayed, because maybe you'd say that there's a fair fear that some people might have bought an N64 expecting a classic Mega Man game or an X game on it, and then all they got was Legends, which is not a shade to Legends, but might not be what you were expecting. So they felt bad for that they were abandoning the PlayStation, so they were abandoning the Nintendo kids. So they made Mega Man in base as one last send-off to the Nintendo scene, and also for some reason decided it should be really hard. So Mega Man in base fits in with Mega Man 8 in that kind of black sheep category, but not nearly as well known, because the game did not come out outside of Japan. Not in 1998, not on the Super Nintendo. I mean, it's fair. It's a super late SNES game, and there are actually examples of really late games coming out on Nintendo platforms, even when they have new hardware out. For instance, like Mega Man 6, which was published by Nintendo. Actually, this was I think this was in this video, a video by Jay's Reviews, who I like. I think this is in his video. He kind of pointed something out, which I guess I always was aware of all the details. I just never put them together. But Mega Man 6 was actually published by Nintendo well after 3 years after the Super Nintendo came out. And that was because Nintendo of Japan mainly, or Nintendo actually liked having games for people who were still on the old hardware. But by 1998, that wasn't really as common. And there wasn't much of a reason for Capcom to spend the money localizing and porting the game to the Super Nintendo. And, it's like, why? So the game kind of was just stuck in Japanese until 2003, only a few years later, when it released on the Game Boy Advance. Now, the GBA is a great handheld. It's got a very underrated library, in my opinion. Part of that is just because it's like a little mini Super Nintendo. There were so many SNES ports to the GBA that are honestly really good. Mega Man in base is not one of them. Mega Man in base is a difficult game. It throws a lot of stuff at you. And it's workable when you're playing at a Super Nintendo aspect ratio. And when you crunch that down onto a GBA screen, the game, I've seen footage of it, is probably like unplayable. It seems unplayable. Just stuff flying in from all over, things that were designed. There are things that the game is designed around, like, the player can see these things because they're on screen that are not on screen in the GBA port. Now, it is in English, so where there is an English script, it also has a slightly reworked OST. I actually prefer some of the GBA tracks to some of the SNES tracks. It kind of goes back and forth depending on them. Great soundtrack for the most part. This game's got a good one. I guess I'll talk about that in a second. What was I talking about? So most people outside of Japan, I can't even imagine it sold that well in Japan, but most people, because it's on such an old console, but most people who played it outside of Japan probably played it on the GBA port. And yeah, I can see how that would be a bad experience, because the game is pretty difficult before you introduce that. And then also it just has like genuine straight up bullshit. Fuck you. There's like 3 levels I fucking hate in this game. So now, having played it on SNES, what do I think of it? Is it actually a bad game? No, not at all, actually. It's not the best one. It's not the best game in the series by any means, I'd say. Not in my opinion. But it's honestly pretty good. I think it's a pretty good Mega Man game. Definitely harder than average. Probably not as hard as Mega Man 9 in general. If you've played 9 and beaten 9, I think Mega Man and Bass could be a decent challenge. I also have to bring with the caveat that I was playing as Bass. Because why not? Because 1, I love Bass, and 2, it's like the only game where he's playable. Well, he's playable in 10 as well. But I just figured, like, okay, he's a title character. Might as well play him. He's so cool. And Bass has been noted as being on the slightly easier end. To be honest, I kind of wish that this had just been a Bass game in general. That this had just starred Bass. Because I think that would have been... probably would have worked out better overall. I'll get to that in a second. So I want to talk about how I actually played this and the best way to play it. It's annoying as fuck. So you need to go to a forum. Okay, so the easiest way to... okay, so I want to play Mega Man and Bass in the best way possible, and I'm an English speaker. I don't speak Japanese, and I'd kind of like to at least read what's going on and read the menus and stuff. There is an English fan-made patch for the Super Nintendo ROM. You can patch it yourself, but it's more complicated than usual because of some goddamn reason. I don't know why. I've done ROM hacking before, and it's pretty easy. You just click on the patch, and you click on the game in a very lightweight software. Click, click, done. Open the game. Patch is applied. Mega Man and Bass, for some reason, requires you to, like, edit, like, headers and stuff like that, and honestly, I just wasn't in the mood. So I'm like, okay, can I get a download of the game that has been pre-patched? Yes, it's hard. It's arcane. Oh, you could say that, the misery. I had to go to this... okay, so I had to find a Reddit comment pointing me to the place to... okay, fuck, what was it? Okay, what was the process I actually went through? I found it on a ROM's website, but that website doesn't have files anymore because they shift around what website the files are actually hosted on because of copyright stuff, obviously. So I had to go to this forum, make a register an account, and then go to a hidden URL that is not actually linked anywhere. You have to know what to type in. I only found this from a Reddit comment. And then I could download the game, and hey, it worked fine, and it was in English. Which is like... it was just like a little more headache than I felt like dealing with, but it was easier, I guess. And I think that this is a massive missed opportunity for the Legacy Collection too. I think that it would have been a genuine value add to have Mega Man and Bass, the Super Nintendo version, and fuck it, throw in the GBA version with an English translation in the Legacy Collection too. I think it would have exposed a lot more people to it. And honestly, I think that much like with some of the other Mega Man games, would have probably turned some public opinion around on it. MMB is a generally kind of maligned one. A lot of people just write it off as being bad. I thought that it was bad. It had a bad reputation for years. I just kind of assumed that it was true. What I've learned is to never trust public opinion. If you haven't like played the game or at least like seen a lot of it with your own eyes. So huge missed opportunity. Yeah. Big bummer again. Gripes with the Legacy collections. So, okay, let's talk about the game. So, Mega Man Base is sort of like Mega Man 8.5 in terms of story and also like assets and stuff. It reuses tons and tons. I'm sure there's some original stuff, but like sometimes it feels like 80% of the game's assets are just crunched down Mega Man 8 sprites. And to be honest, they look pretty good. It's still a really nice looking game. It's Mega Man's sprite from 8. The one from 7 is not reused. Base looks really good. I feel like he's based off of X's sprites because he has some similar kind of abilities, namely the dash. So I played as Base. I did not play as Mega Man. The big difference is that Mega Man's kind of the typical Mega Man moveset, jump, charge, slide, all that. Base has a bunch of unique stuff going on. He can shoot in like 8 directions just about, or 7 directions. He can't shoot straight down. He can shoot in 7 directions. You hold down the button and he rapid fires, and then you're locked in place, and then you can input directional controls to change where you're shooting. He can dash like Mega Man X, and he can double jump. And the double jump is one of the most busted things about Base. First of all, it feels really good to use. It's a lot of fun to double jump in a Mega Man game. And also, this game has the classic Mega Man damage recoil thing, where you kind of back when you get hit. If you haven't expended your second jump in the air when you get hit, Base can double jump out of his like hit stun, which means that platforming over precarious pits and stuff like that is a lot more manageable in places where Mega Man would just fall to his death. So that's cool. So what I mean by the game, I wish that it had maybe focused. I wish it had focused on one character or the other and not tried to use both of them, because there are some specific things that the differences in the way that each character plays and their different abilities, essentially, means that the game can't be designed around both of them at the same time. So here's what I mean. There's a moment in one of my least favorite stages in the game, Burner Man, where you go up this ladder and you go up on the right side, and essentially the room that you climb up into, the layout is such. Most of the room, like you climb like all the way up near the top, and there's kind of this like, or towards like the middle of the screen in terms of vertical, the middle height. And there's like, essentially you come to this like overlook, and down below is this gorilla guy who's throwing rocks. He's throwing boulders at the ground at an angle. He's just throwing them downwards. Now, as Base, this enemy is really hard to hit. He's placed very awkwardly, and you have to stand in a really particular place to even kind of hit him with your buster. And it's on the next screen, once you get past him, there's the same enemy that just chucks things at a diagonal angle. But he's on like the top of essentially like a set of steps. It's a very classic Mega Man layout. An enemy that attacks diagonally, standing at the top of steps. And as Base, that one is just a piece of cake. You just aim upwards and just obliterate him. Well, the reason for that is because Mega Man can shoot through walls. So on that first screen, you can just climb up. The guy's to your left. You can just shoot him through the wall as you're climbing up. You have plenty of time to see what the pattern looks like. He has a lot of health, so one charge shot isn't going to take him out. You'll probably see what he does. And then on the next stage or screen, it's much more difficult because you have to climb up these stairs and hit him from like this odd angle. Like you have to jump up to try to hit him while dodging his thing. It's more challenging that way. Completely inverted versus base. And so you end up in a couple of and there's several moments like this throughout the game where that kind of classic, what I call 4-panel design or the 4-part design, the Kisho Tenketsu, is sort of flipped and gets fucked up because the designers are factoring one character over the other when they differ in pretty important ways, like how they can basically interact with enemies. So there's just a lot of like wonky stuff like that. Again, bit of a wonk factor. What is what I'll call it. And there is other stuff where they are clearly designed around 2 characters and very intentionally so, where like Mega Man, an area that's only accessible to Mega Man because you've got to slide into it, or a place that you have to double jump into. Bass as a character, I should mention, I think a lot of people might be tempted to kind of play him like Mega Man X, and you really can't. Mega Man X is a game that is designed around X's moveset. It's designed with the dash and the wall slide and wall jumping all in mind. And Bass, importantly, does not have the wall slide or jump, and the game is not designed in the same way that the X games are designed. In like Mega Man X, the levels tend to be a little bit larger, a little bit more open. There's more surface area because you can just navigate and climb all over the place with dash jumping and wall hopping and stuff like that. But these levels have to be designed around Mega Man, who can only slide. So Bass's dash isn't really meant for mobility, but it's really like to get out of the way. If you're just in Mega Man X, you can kind of dash willy-nilly because the enemies are all designed around, okay, the player's probably going to be dashing all the time. In Mega Man and Bass, if you try to dash willy-nilly as Bass, you're going to get hit all the time. So you can't just play it like that. You have to slow down a little bit and mainly use the dash for repositioning and dodging stuff. There is a slight element of low profiling, which is an aspect of the dashes in Mega Man X and stuff. There's a little bit of that, but the game isn't designed a ton around it. Low profiling stuff tends to be like a lot of stuff that like only Mega Man can do, because they want going low to be a Mega Man thing. Bass is more about you'll rather be double jumping over it than dashing under stuff. Compared to like, I don't know, in like the Mega Man Zero games, dashing like I think literally like halves your height or something like that. So it functions almost like a slide. So a few things to keep in mind. These are not bad things. It's just the way that the game is designed and kind of has to be designed. I do really like playing as Bass. I think he's really fun, and I'm glad that he's fun in this game. As for the levels, they are generally just a little tougher. Groundman is fairly... This game, okay, I gotta say, this game is one of my favorite rosters of Robot Masters. There's a kind of like Cold Man's a little boring. Also, his name's Cold Man. It also reuses Tengu Man and Astro Man from Mega Man 8. Which is a little lame. Again, it feels like kind of a time crunch scenario. But if you're going to reuse 2 robots from 8, I like Tengu Man a lot. I think Astro Man he's distinct. He's not a bad pick. Ground Man is a really cool, like, transforming drill guy. Pirate Man is an awesome design. Magic Man, I think, is a great, really flavorful design. Dynamo Man is fine. He's just kind of electric guy. He's whatever. Burner Man, I hate that goddamn stage, but really cool design. He's just a bunch of like propane tanks. I think the coolest part about him is the fact that his actual, what would you call it? Like half of his finger, or like the last joint of his finger, something like that. He basically only has like half of his fingers physically, because they are burners. So like his fingertip, like that whole part of his finger, is just a flame. It's just like a burner flame. Such a cool idea for a fire-themed Robot Master. Also think it's hilarious that he is designed specifically to hurt the environment and loves global warming. just like cartoonishly evil oil executive Robot Master. He's trying to burn down the rainforest in his stage. Yeah, I think there's some really great, cool-looking designs in this one. Definitely a lot of really underrated ones. The music is also awesome. I mentioned it before. There's a little difference between the GBA and the SNES soundtracks. I generally prefer the SNES ones. Like Groundman stage is. I've had it in my head like all day. Bum 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 bum. It's super weird. It caught my attention the first time I heard it because the phrase ends with this really odd, like, discordant note. It doesn't resolve properly, and at first it sounded kind of bad, like it's a little too flat. But then it really grew on me as this weird kind of like funky, kind of jazzy choice. The whole piece, it takes a level of skill to put such strong, such an obvious, like discordant note in a song. It's really easy to mess it up, but like I think it's super cool and it makes the game really catchy. Who's the composer on this? Let's see, who's the composer? Sound design. Okay, what does that mean? Naoshi Mizuta, Akari Kaida, and someone named Kiri-Kiri-chan, who does not have a link because this is Capcom. Okay, it looks like they were maybe, yeah, they were both composers. They don't say who exactly composed which games or which tracks, but yeah, Akari Kaida also worked on Earth Defense Force, Tekken 8. Oh, Phantasy Star Online 2, Smash 4, a couple other things. What did Naoshi Mizuta work on? Theater Rhythm, Bravely Default, FF15, 13-2. A lot of Final Fantasy actually. Theater Rhythm, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, really cool soundtrack. I also really like Pirate Man's theme on the GBA version. It's just got this like really intense, it builds this really intense kind of melancholic thing, and then it drops out again to the start of the loop, but it's like this really like kind of crunchy guitar sound, like steady guitar. That's super cool. It makes it feel like it's keeping the intensity up while also dropping the instruments out. It's super neat. The SNES version is not quite as cool to me because that instead of that like kind of crunchy guitar, it's a more subtle sound, and so it doesn't hit as hard when you go back to it. But there's a really nice intensity to it. Just some really good music in this game. The special weapons are generally pretty fun. I'm going to talk about the level design on last because I've got a lot of ranting to do. The special weapons are generally pretty cool. Let me just look at them. So Coldman's got a neat one. You make an ice wall and then you can push it forward. You can find gaps. You can find like holes in the floor. Oh, actually, let me complain about level design real quick. Again, just like weird, not like what design. There's this, okay, in one of the, I think it's one of the fortress stages, I think there's a hazard. Okay, so basically they introduce this thing where it's like there's gaps in the floor, but they are covered by a foreground object, by like a foreground panel that's that's attached to the platform. Sounds like a weird, to the floor essentially. There's gaps in the floor, but it's obscured where exactly they are, and you're introduced to this in a normal way, just like, oh, fall down to safety, go back up. Okay, I guess there's a gap there. Then they start introducing spikes and stuff like that, and enemies. There's this enemy that basically the way it works is that it's two little nodes, and they are arranged vertically, and they just make like an electricity barrier between them. Okay, fine. You destroy one, the one that remains creates like creates a new copy. They kind of like bud, and then it floats down to the bottom. And then when it gets back to its set position, they make the electricity barrier again. Okay, not the most complex enemy design, but for some reason, the first time it's given to you, it's in front. It is being partially obscured by one of these foreground elements, one of these foreground panels that's meant to obscure where the gap in the floor is. And so I killed the one that was visible on top and then just walked into the one on the bottom because it's literally invisible. You cannot see it. Like, I had to was like, what the fuck? What? I didn't understand how it even worked until I got to the next one where it is completely visible. Just, why was it designed like that? Why'd you do that? I'm not opposed to combining those two things, but why did you obscure the information like that? I didn't even understand after I got hit. Anyway, right, Cold Man's weapon's cool. Astroman, they had to come up with like new weapons for Astroman and Tengu Man. For Astroman, instead of a big screen clear weapon, they came up with this like copy shot where you just make a clone that shoots. It's fine. Tengu Man has a cool one. The Tengu Blade is a really unique weapon. It has a melee component, and then it's kind of spins out. You do like a slash, and then it spins out into a projectile that bounces around. It's pretty cool. It also automatically is used every time you dash/slide. I like that one. That's neat. Groundman it's just Drill Man's weapon. What a difference between character designs. Like, you want to look at the evolution of a series art style. Compare Groundman to Drill Man from Mega Man 4. They are essentially the same robot. The same design. A robot who is made of a bunch of drills stapled together. Drill Man is just he's just like a torso and legs, and his arms are drills, and his head is a drill. And Groundman is this just crazy, he's got like 20 drills on him, and these like big shoulder drills, and he like transforms into like a drill machine, and like it's so much more elaborate. I think he's cool. But just like the sheer difference. And yeah, it's just like a drill that splits into other drills. Pirate Man's weapon is like a pretty decent mine that you can kind of direct. It's fine. It's like a slightly slower version of Grenade Man's weapon. Magic Man's weapon is cool. It's just like a card that has a short range and boomerangs back to you. Dynamo Man. What does Dynamo Man do again? Dude, I forget what Dynamo Man's weapon is. Why am I... What the hell does he do? It's, What the... Hang on, what's it called? Lightning Bolt. Oh, it's the screen clear. He gets the screen clear. That's what it is. I didn't actually have to use it that much. Burner Man, also, he's got a flamethrower, which is just a weapon from Mega Man X, but hey, it's cool to do it in this game. Yeah, so generally, like, pretty solid roster of weapons. I used, like, the Magic Man, Drill Man. Drill Man doesn't do that much damage, so I didn't use it super often. But yeah, Magic Man, Drill Man, Pirate Man, the Tengu Blade. Yeah, I used them fairly often. The Burner Man's weapon is also pretty good. Moving on to stages, they are, like I said, generally tougher. They are just, it's more that the stages, they don't like really fuck with you too much. They just throw a lot at you, and there's a lot of just spikes and death. Very punishing. I think of like Groundman stage as a good example of this. It's one of the first stages you unlock. This game does a weird, you know how like around this time they were kind of doing like start with 4 robot masters and then move on to the next 4. They were kind of doing that in this game, but you start with 3 and then each one unlocks. Okay, you start with 3 robot masters and then you beat 1 and then it unlocks 2 more, and you beat another one of the first group and it unlocks 2 more, and then you beat the middle one and it will only unlock 1. It's kind of weird, and it doesn't really affect that much. There's not a lot of like, oh, well, you'll want to take this route. Like there is an obviously perfect route that I found, because this game also doesn't really have any collectibles like previous games in terms of items, the same way that there were like, you know, the rush letters or the energy balancer or something like that. All of that stuff is bought from the shop using bolts that you pick up through regular gameplay. And I was rarely in short supply of bolts. I never really had a problem buying the things that I needed. And yeah, so there's a pretty obvious route through this game just based on the weakness order that is perfect. That being said, Groundman's stage kind of throws like, it's like, okay, here's like this quicksand, and then there are these multiple segments where there's like really tight timing of this high health centipede robot that crawls along the walls, and you gotta like, you can kill it, but not that easily. And like, if you take the time to actually kill it, there's another one that's gonna spawn in. So you basically just have to wait until it passes and then just book it to the end of the screen. And the timing again is pretty tight. There's not a lot of leeway that you're given. Then there's like this whole room where you have to get through it. There's a locked door, and there's all of these like totem statues, and you have to destroy it. You have to destroy these statues to get through because they're blocking your progress. But every time you destroy one, it makes like a wheel of insta-kill spikes get closer to the point where it will be unavoidable. And one of them, there's like a red statue that will unlock the door. So you have to look at the room and figure out how many of the statues you can destroy to get to the red one to get to the next room. And it just kind of throws stuff like this at you like pretty quickly and expects you to adapt. It also has a mini boss that has way too much health. What are some other like difficult? Okay, I remember Astroman stage just has, it's not even that hard. It just has like a really slow, annoying disappearing block section where you got to do this. It's this big vertical shaft, and you got to do disappearing block platforming all the way up. And the double jump makes it a little easier, but it just takes so long. And when you fall, and it just took me a really long time. Yeah, Astroman having kind of boring stages with gimmicks that drag them out. 2 for 2, crazy. Tengu Man stage sort of infamously is an auto-scroller that is a little dumb. I'm not a huge fan of the auto-scrolling gimmick. There is a rather, again, infamous section where you have to platform across balloons, but one of the like they pop basically as soon as you land on them, so you got to jump from one to the next, and they're all in a row, but one of them is like a little spaced out, and you got to jump further. And so you got to jump further than you were expecting to, and you will die and fall in the pit and die. I like Magic Man stage. I generally like Dynamo Man stage. It was pretty a little too much in the spike zone for me. Pirate Man stage has a lot of spikes, but they're not kill spikes. They're just like damaging. That one was fine. That one's kind of cool. His fight's also pretty good. The fights in general, I think, in this game are mostly good. They're mostly good. Cold Man stage is actually really good. It's An ice stage that doesn't rely on ice physics. Crazy, I know. I don't even think there's any ice physics in there. The actual gimmick is around these ice platforms that break after you walk over them and like spend too long on them. It goes over much better than like Freeze Man. No, not Freeze Man. What's his name? Frost Man from Mega Man 8. I always confuse the ice guys. But though Freeze Man does have a bunch of annoying ice physics in his stage. And the one I got a real bone to pick with, Burner Man. Fuck that stage. Oh my god. That one is notably harder than the other ones. It is throwing a lot at you, and it is very, very punishing. Walk into an area where there are cannons that are shooting arced projectiles at you that will change based off of where you are standing, so you have to keep moving. You have to destroy them so that you can, because they are on elevated segments of terrain that you need to jump up. And you have to jump up them because there is a giant telly that flies through and will drop a bomb that will cause insta-kill fire to rise up from the bottom of the screen. This happens like 3 times. So just go. That whole level is just, and maybe it's easier on Mega Man, I don't know. But that whole level is just throwing so much shit at you. It was really, and like back to back to back. There's this weird, there's this section with these like gorilla guys who, it's the same guys who like throw stuff at you. This is the same section. This is the same guy that I was talking about. And like the last time you run into that guy, it is really annoying to take him out as base. Really easy as Mega Man, because you can just shoot through walls. But as base, you got to do this really, because base doesn't do a lot of damage. So you have to do this really obnoxious, just like hop and shoot and hop and shoot and hop and shoot. It sucks. There's this weird room where there are spears shooting out of the background, like out of the wall behind you, out of the background wall. But because of the game's foreshortening and perspective, it is difficult to assess where the actual hitbox of the spears is, and the timing is really tight. I just found that annoying. Just the level is just one thing after another. It's just one goddamn thing after another. And then Burner Man's fight was really obnoxious to me. So he's weak to Cold Man's weapon, the ice wall. There is a cool idea here. Again, this is around the time they were trying to make the weapons a little more interactive and not just like shoot, stun. So Burner Man's fight takes place on this platform that is like 2 or 3 screens wide, and on the edges is a pit of spikes. You are not really in danger of falling into them, but the idea is that you create the little ice wall from Cold Man's weapon and then push it into Burner Man, and then he will get pushed into he will take damage from it, but then he'll get pushed into the spikes and take extra damage. And that's really where most of the damage comes from in the fight. Unfortunately, this game does this really cool thing where if something is off screen, it's like, I never saw that. Who did? I didn't see anything. And this becomes a problem at a later point. So you have to make sure that after you hit Burner Man, you just dash to make sure that he's on screen when he takes damage from the spikes. He has a ton of different attacks, and he goes through all of them in a seemingly random pattern, and you have to wait until the only time that he is actually damageable during 2 of them to hit him. Very annoying fight. Maybe the way that I'm describing it makes it not sound quite as bad, but very annoying fight. He does this thing where he dashes back and forth, where he's like, it's just like his dashing attack. He's invulnerable during it. And then after, he will sometimes, what he does after the dash is like seemingly random. There's like a couple possible follow-ups that he can do. Sometimes he'll stop in place. Sometimes he will jump up and like right into you because you probably jumped over him to avoid him, and he will jump right into you. annoying. And in the game, okay, so then there's this weird part where the game does not have, okay. So it doesn't have the traditional classic Mega Man boss rush. Instead, well, one part is that it does have the teleporter room, but it happens before you go to the King Fortress. Oh yeah, the villain of this game is this robot called King, who is rebelling against Wily and has kicked Wily out of his own castle, and that's why Wily is sent base to go beat him up. So you get to the King, you beat all the Robot Masters, and then there is one level that is unlocked before you get to the fortress stages that's just really weird, and I don't know why it's there. It is essentially 8 different puzzles using each of the Robot Master weapons. Now, I was trying to figure out, like, why I liked this so much more in Swordman's stage in Mega Man 8, where there are, like, mandatory usage of boss weapons. I can kind of think of a few reasons. Number one, that was, like, had a really cool theme. This is sort of arbitrary. Essentially what happens is you're just, like, in the classic teleporter room, like it's a boss rush, except you walk into the teleporters and you'll end up in this room that is it's a challenge room where there is a glowing green, like, block. Not green. It's a glowing block, and it glows with all 8 of them glow in different colors. And I had to put this together that the colors are meant to correspond to the color of the weapon when you have it equipped. Like the color of the weapon energy meter, which has never been a thing in any other game that's acknowledged it, that even has different colors for the weapon energy meter. Also, like, 3 of them are a sort of grayish brown color, which is not very obvious it's like gray or white, and it's not very obvious when you're seeing this glowing block what it's supposed to be. And you have to hit the block with that weapon to destroy it, and then you'll get a bunch of bolts and you'll have cleared that room. So most of them are fine. Most of them are just relatively intuitive uses of the weapon. The one for Pirate Man is really dumb. It is you know how you can, like, maneuver the mine? You can press up or down to influence the path of the mine as it flies forward. So his challenge room is that you need to thread the needle through this really tight passageway. You have to go through and then up and then down. And if it touches a wall at any point, it will cling to that wall. And you have to detonate it and then just try again. And also, the opening of this passageway is not at your regular buster height. It is not even, like, at the peak of your jump. It's at a weird in-between height. So I spent so much weapon energy just trying to get it through the hole in the first place. What happens if you run out of weapon energy? Well, you gotta leave. You gotta leave the room through the teleporter, then go to the teleporter in the top of, like, the big center room, and it'll take you back to the stage select. And then your weapon energy will not be refilled. You have to then go to another level. I use Astromans, and just farm weapon energy for the proximity mine, or for the detonator mine, whatever it's called. You just farm weapon energy. And then you exit, and then you go back. I hope you bought the upgrade that lets you exit a level if you've beaten the boss. And then you go back to the challenge level, and you try again. I ended up save stating here just to, like, prevent. I would have had to go back, like, probably 7 times, 8 times. It just burns through so much weapon energy. It's not a particularly cheap weapon. And you have to learn this really specific... First of all, you need to learn the timing of when you have to shoot during the jump. And then there's this really specific timing of how you move it up and down. Because it doesn't move very quickly. It's not like a fine control weapon. It moves in, like... Moving up and down is like a really lazy sine wave, if anything. But eventually I got it. I also can't imagine that the differentiating the blocks by color is that obvious to like. First of all, yeah, again, like the color. So a lot of the colors overlap. Second of all, my God, help you if you're colorblind at all. You have trouble seeing colors. And then you finally unlock the way to King Fortress, which has the first stage of... Okay, so first of all, the King stages are... There's only 3 of them. The first one is fine. Perfectly fine fortress level. The last 2 are the worst, most abominable bullshit in the entire game. Maybe some of the worst levels in the whole series. At least the classic series. So there's only 3 fortress stages, as I just said, where there's usually 4. And honestly, in a lot of the games, there would be an extra 4 stages anyway, like the 4 Cossack stages or the Mr. X stages or something like that. Nope. Only 3. But they make up for it because there are, in the last 2 stages, there are 15 boss fights. There are 15 bosses that you have to go through. The King Fortress 2 has 5 bosses in one go. Yeah, there's checkpoints when you get to the first one and I think the third one. But if you game over, you got to do a level leading up to the first one, and then you and these are not like good bosses. They're actually some of the most infamous ones in the series. So the first one is the King Tank, which is annoying and again suffers from I didn't see it. So the King Tank is this big tank. It has a bunch of different attacks. It's got like 4 different segments. It's got like a top thing that shoots out missiles that will then like drop. They'll like track wherever Mega Man is standing when it fires. It'll then hit there. It's got like a gun at the front that shoots like a bunch of pellets. It's got tracks that it will use to ram into you. And then it's got like a little back compartment thing that will let out little soldier guys to attack you. And you kill the boss by destroying each of these segments individually. Okay, kind of a neat idea for the boss. And it's not the worst boss in the world. It's just very boring and slow, which will be a running theme. The best way to deal with it, you don't actually have to take out the treads. You can take out the gun, the missiles, and the back part, and that's fine. The best way to do it is with the mine weapon, but you only have so much ammo for it. And also, if the tank just decides to run back or forth, if it goes off screen, if the mine goes off screen, it's wasted. It completely despawns, which is really cool. There's like a level underneath the tank that you can climb down that you'll probably be spending a lot of time underneath. So that you can avoid some of the attacks. It's just very slow. It takes a really long time to kill. It has no health bar. So you just gotta kind of keep at it until it dies. Okay, fine. That wasn't that great, but whatever. Next one is like the most infamous Mega Man boss ever. The King, what is it called? The Jet, whatever? This thing sucks. So this boss fight is fucking crazy. It is a flying tank jet thing. It is an auto-scrolling boss. You are jumping across platforms that are constantly created at seemingly random heights because you're over a pit. The whole bottom is a pit. You're jumping across platforms while this thing is shooting stuff at you. What does it shoot at? Well, it shoots like projectiles. Sure, it shoots like 2 different kinds of projectiles. It shoots a fist that destroys platforms, and if you are not playing as base, like if you're playing as Mega Man, you can just get into no-win situations because the platform you needed is gone now. Base can at least double jump, but sometimes, even as base, you get fucked over. And there's also a gigantic flashbang attack that it does. It releases these items in bubbles. Some of them are like health. It's usually weapon energy, but a lot of them are also flashbangs. If you touch the bubble, the whole screen goes white. I got like a bit of a headache playing this boss because the screen just kept fucking flashing white over and over and over again, sometimes back to back, while you're jumping across platforms that the boss is actively destroying. There's just so much shit happening while it's also doing stuff to you. It has a laser attack that it charges up. You have to destroy the laser. The laser, I think, does the laser come back? I forget if the laser respawns. But it has, the main boss can only be damaged through like the sweet spot at the top of the tank. Like the glass dome at the top. And like, it's a really overbearing fight to begin with. But it's also it doesn't have any health bar, and it has so much fucking health. It just has so much fucking health. It is this overbearing, headache-inducing boss fight that is also super slow and sloggy. Oh, it fucking sucks. I'm really glad I played this on an emulator, because it took so many attempts. I would have had to fight that fucking stupid tank so many times. I just save stated. I save stated before, I save stated after. Fuck it. I don't care. Boss absolutely sucks. It's up there with Boo Beam Trap for being like one of the worst in the entire series. And there's some bad fucking boss fights. There's like Sigma and X3. That's a bad fight. And then you have 3 back-to-back fights with King. The first one is not okay, well, here's the thing. The first one is not technically a real fight. It's just an endurance match. You just have to dodge projectiles that he throws at you for like, I don't know, a minute or two. But he doesn't have a health bar, right? And the previous 2 bosses didn't have health bars either. So I just assumed it was a real fight. And you can deal damage to him. So all you actually have to do is dodge. Okay, and then there's like 2 fights with him. There's one where he's like, actually, he's got a health bar, and then you beat that one, and then he powers up into this gigantic tank form, and okay, you have to fucking like double jump and hit him at like the peak of your jump, and it's so hard to hit him, and he's fucking throwing this shit out. He's charging up the laser. You gotta destroy the laser respawns. The amount of fucking incredibly slow, difficult fights that the game puts you through back to back to back to back to back. Dude, I can't imagine game overing and having to do this again. It just dog shit. Just actual trash. Oh, I should mention, the end of King Stage 1, it ends with a really shitty boss. It's the Penguin Pod from Mega Man 8, which is also one of the worst bosses in that game. That boss is dumb. In that game, it was this weird thing where you had to kick the Mega Ball up into these weird parts of the ceiling, and it was really hard to aim, and it's really awkward and strange. In this one, it's this bizarre setup where the penguin guy can only be damaged on like the very bottom where his head sticks out. But he's like in the ground, like the pod is in the ground, but he is attached to a like chain with a like a winch for some reason. I don't know who set this up. He's attached to like a winch chain, and you have to stand on this platform that's on the other side of the chain, that's on like the other end of the room, and it will drag your body weight will drag the platform down. It will weigh it down and pull the penguin guy up so he's vulnerable, but the platform is over a pit of insta-kill lava. So you have to balance standing on the platform, but not too long, so that you can hit the penguin guy. And then at the same time, the penguin is also shooting missiles at you, and sometimes out of the lava, there's a little penguin drone that comes out and hits you. And sometimes there's actually this like this random robot monkey that will just be throwing coconuts at you that you have to like shoot to make him go away, but only after he shoots like 2 coconuts. It's just so much, it's just annoying. It's like a really annoying fight, and if you kill the penguin pod while you're standing on the platform, he will get like severed and destroyed, and you will drop there will be nothing to counterbalance the platform, and you will drop directly into the lava and just kill yourself after beating the boss, which is just an actual like stupid dick move. I hate it. I hate it. And then the final level is the boss rush, but again, it's not a traditional boss rush. It's actually closer to the Mega Man X1 boss rush. Oh, that one was cool. You go through like 4 Sigma stages and you fight a few of the bosses at a time, like during the midpoint and endpoint of each stage. That was cool. Well, no, actually. You fight all 8 bosses in one level, with platforming sections in between that, of course, are just replete with spikes and instant death pits and just a bunch of other shit that can fuck you up. And then you gotta fight Wily, who is, I don't even remember the fight. It's basically like the machine from 8. I was just save stating at this point. I can't tell you how hard it really was. Then there's a Wily capsule that's really slow and annoying. Again, just like not that hard. Just they have so much health. It's hard to deal damage to them. Their weaknesses don't even deal that much more damage. It's just annoying. They all have like sweet spots, and they can't be hit anywhere else. It's just like the boss designs just suck towards the end. Difficult, like fair, like annoying and slow. I genuinely spent like 2 hours trying to beat just the last 2 stages. The home stretch of this game turns into a fucking slog. Just a miserable experience. It was god awful. And it's almost enough to just make me not want to replay the game again. Like, if I played the game again, I would just go through the Robot Master stages and not even bother. Maybe the first Wily stage, but I'd like cut it off at the boss. Like, not even bother. It's one of the worst final stretches of a Mega Man game I've ever played. It's really fucking abysmal. I don't even want to imagine doing it on GBA. Dear God. And that's Mega Man and Bass. Makes a terrible last impression. Like I said, I think I've said this before. Have I said this on the podcast? The most important parts of your game to get right are the first like 20% and the last 10%. If you open strong, you will leave people with a good first impression that will either, if they happen to drop it, they'll at least have a good impression of it. And if they keep going, if it actually hooks them, it will inspire them to keep going. And then also, the last 10% of the game cannot fall apart, because when it does, the people who have stuck it through are just going to feel resentful of the way that the game ends. Like, you don't want the last impression to be negative, because now every time I think of Mega Man, and if some of those bullshit levels had been in the middle, I would have had an easier time stomaching them. But because it's just this fucking mountain of shit you have to dig through on the farm, it puts this, like, thinking of the game is like not as bad, but there's this like negative emotion that I've associated with it because it was my last impression of the game. But that is Mega Man and Bass. Not a bad game, has bad parts, but not nearly as bad as I think a lot of people claimed it to be. With Bass, I think it's a pretty good challenge. I think as Mega Man, it might be a little too much. I wish it had just been designed, honestly, around Bass. If you're going to make a game like this, just make it a Bass game. You know, it's a spin-off. Do whatever you want. And actually design the game fully around him with his... I mean, he has a compelling reason. He has, I think, an interesting stake in the plot to take down this robot that Wily has made and then turned against him. But then, there's... King is actually under Wily's control the whole time. I think there's... You know what? I think one of the best parts about Mega Man is it's a very rewarding series to think about. Like, King is a robot who wants freedom for other robots. He's like a robot liberation leader. But his nature as a robot master means that he does not have true free will, and therefore can never truly be free. And that's a kind of interesting, tragic state for a character. A freedom fighter who can never truly be free in his mind, who will always be subject to the will of someone else. Robot masters kind of have this... The thing that differentiates a robot master from a Reploid, from the, like in the X series, is that Reploids have true free will. Robot masters do not. They have personalities. They can seemingly form their own personalities, but they can be programmed to do whatever you want. Now, robots like maybe Mega Man and Rock and Roll, don't have any, my kind of interpretation is that they don't have any particular programming besides be Dr. Light's children. But you can just reprogram a robot to do something, and it will not have a choice. It must do it. And they can feel any kind of way about that. Some of them, sometimes they might not like what they do, but they will do it anyway, and they will, importantly, consent to it. They will, even if it's just begrudgingly, like, I hate my job. I don't like doing my job, but whatever, I'll clock in. And taking King to be this character who is like, has personality-wise, he really does believe in the idea of robot liberation. But there's this tragic element that ultimately he will always, by his very nature, be under the thumb of someone else. That's like a cool idea for a character. Unfortunately, he's never shown up again. He does, I think, technically survive the events of the game. He kind of like suicide bombs, but I think Mega Man's ending shows him alive, or that he sends them a letter. But yeah, I think that's a cool thing for Base, because Base, what's funny about it is that Base is also, this is the story of why Base turns on Wily, because Base was only just programmed to kill Mega Man. So he can't exercise free will, but his programming doesn't necessarily contradict what he was programmed to, what he wants to do. He doesn't necessarily need Wily. Yeah, I wish this had kind of just been a Base game, and I think the level design might have benefited from it. And yeah. Good game, worth playing. I think it is generally, if you're curious, definitely worth hunting down a pre-patched ROM. It can be a bit of a pain, but it is worth it. And it's a cool game, and I think it deserves to be a part of the canon. It is literally like Mega Man 8.5.